them all what I'm made up. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
You've likely all seen the headlines by now. Pope Francis has passed away. He was 88.
Indeed. And the scale of the immediate reaction, looking at the viewer count on that live BBC report you shared.
Over 26,000 people watching live. It really hammers home the global significance, doesn't it?
It certainly does. A huge figure.
So today we're going to dive into this collection of news reports you've sent us. We want to understand, what exactly happened, the reactions from around the world, and maybe touch on what's next for the Catholic Church.
Right. There's a lot here. Live updates, tributes, details on the funeral, his legacy, all primarily from the BBC's coverage.
Exactly. And our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to just give you a clear, concise overview of this major event, what happens immediately after, and the processes that are already starting.
A vital task, especially with someone who touched so many lives globally. So where should we begin? The news itself.
Yeah, let's start there, the basics. The Vatican confirmed his death happened at 7:35 a.m. local time on Monday. This was at his residence in the Vatican.
And it's worth remembering, he had just recently been in hospital.
Right, he was discharged after treatment for an infection. So while he'd been unwell, the news still seems to have landed with, a degree of suddenness.
That report from Sofia Battiza at the Vatican mentioned a palpable shock there.
Palpable shock. That phrase kind of captures the human side of it all, right? Beyond the institution.
Absolutely. It reminds you there are real people at the heart of this.
Okay, so moving outwards from the Vatican, the global reaction, the tribute started flooding in almost immediately.
Oh, instantly. World leaders. We saw statements from King Charles, Italy's Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni.
And J.D. Vance, the U.S. figure who, remarkably, had met the Pope just the day before he passed.
Incredible. The sheer range of people offering condolences really speaks volumes about his influence.
Definitely. And some specific examples really stand out. You flagged the Irish President, Michael D. Higgins.
Yes, he spoke about Francis's focus on the vital issues of our time and the extraordinary importance of the spiritual.
And the Irish Prime Minister, Michael Martin.
Called him an exceptional leader with an unwavering commitment to compassion, peace, and human dignity. Strong words.
Very strong. They really underscore that sense of moral authority he seemed to carry.
Then you look across the Atlantic to the U.S.
Yeah, mix of reactions there, too. Trump offered a brief rest in peace.
While President Biden called him unlike any who came before him and one of the most consequential leaders of our time.
That phrase, unlike any who came before him, that's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It likely points to his more progressive leanings, perhaps, on social issues, his focus on poverty, the environment, maybe a different style of leadership.
Could be. We also saw reflections from Barack and Michelle Obama.
Right. They called him a rare leader who made us want to be better people.
High praise. And figures like Vance and Rubio also shared condolences. It cuts across the political spectrum, it seems.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just political figures, was it?
No, not at all. The reports highlighted the sadness among Palestinian Christians. They saw him as a great friend.
Anton Salman, Bethlehem's mayor, was quoted mentioning his support for Palestinian rights, his calls.
And that image of him in 2014 praying at the West Bank barrier, that was powerful.
Extremely powerful, a very visible sign of his engagement with difficult global issues.
And how different countries are marking his passing.
Yeah.
It's quite something.
It really shows his reach. You've got the prayer service in St. Peter's Square, obviously.
Then Argentina and Brazil declaring 7 days of national mourning. 7 days.
Oh, wow. And in Austria, church bells ringing, black flags, a special requiem mass.
That's a mass specifically for the dead, right?
Exactly, for the repose of his soul.
The UK has the Union Jack at half-mast on royal buildings and the Vatican Embassy. Spain, 3 days of mourning.
And France. Notre Dame's bells rang 88 times, one for each year of his life. And the Eiffel Tower lights went out.
It's a truly global outpouring expressed in so many different ways.
These symbolic acts, they really underline the impact he had, often going beyond just the Catholic faithful.
Let's shift focus slightly to Latin America. As the first pope from the region, his impact there was, unique.
Oh, absolutely huge. The reports mention the sheer jubilation in Argentina when he was elected in 2013.
Yeah, comparing it to a football victory, which makes sense given he was a lifelong fan of San Lorenzo, was it?
That's the one, his football club. They had a really touching tribute.
What did they say?
He was never just one of us, but always one of us. referencing his nicknames, Cuervo the Crow and Ciclón, Cyclone.
Always one of us. It shows that deep connection people felt, doesn't it? He didn't forget his roots.
Definitely not. But now the mood in Buenos Aires is described as sadness and hurt, a real sense of personal loss.
And Argentina's president, Milei, he's declared a week of mourning.
Which is interesting given their past differences.
Right. The reports note Pope Francis's focus on poverty and inequality sometimes put him at odds with Milei's views.
But Milei still acknowledged the immense pride the country had in him. He was a powerful, progressive voice in a complex region, lots of Catholics, but also rising evangelical movements.
A significant figure navigating tricky waters there. Okay, so what happens now? The immediate aftermath.
Well, the first official sign is the Vatican website displaying Apostolica Sedes Vacans.
Which means?
Vacant Apostolic See. Basically, the Pope's office is empty. The interregnum period has begun.
Got it. And plans for the Pope himself.
They're preparing to move his body to St. Peter's Basilica, potentially as early as Wednesday.
For public viewing, so people can pay respects.
Exactly. That's a long-standing tradition, the lying in state. It allows the faithful a chance to say farewell.
And then, the big question, electing the next Pope, the conclave.
Right. The process is famously secret. Your report mentions 135 cardinals currently eligible to vote.
Eligible meaning under 80 years old.
Correct. They are the ones who will gather in the Sistine Chapel to elect the successor.
And the secrecy is deliberate, isn't it?
Yes, it's designed to shield the cardinals from outside pressure, allow them to deliberate and vote freely.
Now, one detail that caught my eye was about his funeral wishes. He wanted something simpler.
He did. He apparently requested a basic wooden coffin, and they're skipping the tradition of placing the body on a catafalque, a raised platform.
So people will view him directly in the coffin.
That's the plan, according to these reports, and perhaps the biggest break with recent tradition.
The burial location.
Exactly. He won't be buried in the Vatican grottos beneath St. Peter's. He chose the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome.
Wow. That's significant. The first pope buried outside the Vatican in how long?
Over 100 years. It's a major departure. Maybe reflects his desire for humility or to be seen slightly differently.
Interesting. It certainly suggests a deliberate choice. Now, thinking about his legacy, even in these first few hours, we're seeing themes emerge, aren't we?
Definitely. Mourners quoted in the Vatican mentioned his care for the environment, for the poor.
Things that were hallmarks of his papacy. Also, his different stance on some issues, like gay marriage, compared to predecessors.
Yes. And his emphasis on mutual help, on solidarity. These are recurring themes in the initial reflections.
And his peace-building efforts. South Sudan stands out.
Oh, absolutely. Personally appealing to the leaders in that incredible moment.
Kneeling and kissing their feet, just extraordinary.
A truly powerful symbolic act. And the reports remind us, even on Easter Sunday, his last public appearance, he was voicing concern about the fighting there.
It stayed with him. And more recently, his focus on Gaza.
Yes, increasingly vocal. His last Easter message specifically called for a ceasefire, release of hostages.
And he was apparently in regular contact with the Catholic Church there.
The Holy Family Catholic Church in Gaza, yes, showing that direct personal concern for those suffering in conflict.
It really highlights his role as a global moral voice, constantly pushing humanitarian issues.
I think that's fair to say.
Okay, so just to quickly recap for everyone listening, we've covered the sad news of Pope Francis's death, looked at the huge wave of global mourning and the tributes pouring in, which tell us a lot about his impact.
We've also touched on the immediate next steps in the Vatican, the sed vacante, the plans for the public viewing, his specific funeral wishes.
And the process for electing the next pope, the conclave, with those 135 cardinals.
And through all this, we're starting to see the outlines of his legacy already taking shape in people's reactions.
We really hope this deep dive, looking through the news reports you shared, has helped give you a clear picture of this significant global event and its immediate aftermath.
It's a moment that will obviously have repercussions for millions around the world.
Absolutely. And just as a final thought to leave you with, considering everything we've just talked about, the diverse reactions, the changes he brought to the papacy, what qualities do you think those cardinals will be looking for now in his successor? And how might Francis's legacy shape the Church's direction moving forward?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Something the whole world will be watching very closely in the coming weeks.
Definitely something to ponder.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.